The days of being a cisgender heterosexual male in the film industry are ending. It is not a place where you can go and be an asshole. It's not a place where you can come and just run through whatever like vulgarities that you would want to and expect for everybody to be cool. Like, no one's doing that anymore. I sacrificed relationships. I sacrificed time. I sacrificed my mentality. I had to let certain aspects of myself die so that I could improve myself. And when you subdue certain passions of your own and you allow for new room to kind of grow these pieces of yourself, that is where the spiritual alignment starts becoming a little bit more purposeful and a little bit more driven. So prior to that, I never named it because it was just like, this is all conceptual. I want to put it into practice somehow. So the case study was, if I was to do 6 months of hard running, if I was to put the blinders on and I'm right here, I'm looking straight forward. I can't see nothing else. And I could just run. What would happen?
Hey y'all, welcome to Inside Out Podcast Season 2. I'm your host, Yamoria Wright. The intention of this podcast is to enrich your life with behind the scenes interviews and conversations from thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and creatives about how they live their lives from the inside out. Enjoy. Y'all, welcome back to Inside Out Podcast. I have with me today my amigo BP Edwards. BP, thank you so much for being here.
It's all good. Thank you for having me. What's the deal?
We gotta get them sound effects. I'm gonna ask Ty, the editor.
Yeah. You gotta give me the thing. For sure.
BP, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. We've been trying to do this episode for about 5 months.
Man.
But we're here.
We are here. We are definitely here.
It was actually the same with Courtney too. That was also about 5 months. Everything today was about 5 months.
Got you.
So this is a breakthrough day.
There you go.
All
That's
right.
good.
If y'all don't know who BP is, you about to find out. Listen up. BP Edwards is a multi-hyphenate filmmaker, creative, and entrepreneur from Pasadena, California. Renowned for his human-centered approach to filmmaking, BP has begun to take the entertainment industry by storm as a cinematographer, a photographer, a producer, a director, and owner of the production company Bear Vision. BP's experience in filmmaking and content creation extends to a wide variety of collaborators, including Hooray, BuzzFeed, Revolt TV, Amazon Prime Video, Walmart, GoDaddy, and Forbes, y'all. First recognized for his work as a producer and the cinematographer on the short film Just Friends, he has continued to rack up accolades with credits in feature-length films, short films, documentaries, commercials, and branded content. Through hard work and discipline, BP was inducted into the Society of Camera Operators as an associate member and is one of 4 cinematographers selected for membership in the inaugural cohort of Color Creative's Find Your People program. BP is a proud alumni of his HBCU, Langston University, and member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity, Inc. Yep. Y'all, BP.
That's the thing.
That's the
BP. I was like, dang, there's a lot in the back. Bios are always weird when you hear them.
They are.
They're always weird.
Yes.
And I feel like I learned that at Soul Canvas, but I'm definitely like getting the full breadth of it here. So hearing it again, still weird.
It's always weird.
It's always going to be weird.
It's always weird. Just like
sure.
sitting there and people listen to like your credits.
But thank you for the nice read. We
you're
love a
welcome.
good read.
You're
for
welcome.
Sure.
What is the history of Bear Vision, by the way? I don't know that.
All right. So the long story, because we have time for that. In 2015, it was November 9th, 2015, I bought my first camera in a Home Depot parking lot for $300. And it was a Canon T3i with a 50 millimeter and a kit lens. And I met the guy was like, yo, if you want this, like, I'm more than happy to sell it to you. I was on Craigslist perusing while I was in grad school, and I pulled up. I called my mentor, Kaish Wilson, and he said, yeah, this is a pretty good deal. You should probably go out there and check it out and see if everything's good, make sure the shutter works and all that other stuff. Prior to that, I think that I might have had minimal experience with the camera. Okay. When I was in college, me and my line brother, Dirt, Justin Gates, he bought a camera, the same camera, and we were taking pictures for all of our flyers for fraternity stuff. So it would be insert party here. We need some pictures. Let's go take some pictures of the brothers, or let's go take some pictures for this social action event or something like that. And we would just do graphic design. So I started as a graphic designer alongside him. he took off with graphic design. I was like, let me just do the photo thing. And then he sold the camera. So I was like, there goes my little passion project thing. But then fast forward back to grad school, I moved down to Commerce, Texas, got it out of a Home Depot parking lot. And I remember spending $300 that I didn't have. And immediately the next month, I shot a project for $300.
Wow.
And I was like, that is a sign from God that I could be doing something with this. So I immediately made business cards. They were absolutely horrible. I was taking graduation portraits and doing that. So I did that for about a year or so. And then the marketing and communications department at Texas A&M Commerce ended up offering me a internship. So I was learning how to do branding, learning how to do video, learning how to do photography, learning how to do it at a high level because they had like a small studio on campus. So we would go to the studio, shoot like the football players, or and it was a campaign that they put me over, and I learned how to do like graphic design at a higher level and doing like InDesign and stuff like that using the Adobe Creative Suite, all those things. So at one point I was making more money behind a camera than I was in grad school. So it's like as an internship or an apprenticeship that they have during my grad school program, I had to essentially make a living. So it wasn't anything crazy. My rent wasn't stupid high, but I was able to subsidize what I was doing and what I had going on by doing portraits around campus. Like people were graduating, take some undergraduate, some graduate people degree programs, take some pictures. And I started making a lot of good money, and I was making more money doing that. I was able to pay my rent with photography money. And so I had this extra little bit of bag that I was just like, okay, well, what do I do? So I started buying equipment, and now I'm getting another lens and I'm picking up another thing. And I start actively like believing that it's a possibility that I could go do a business, but I didn't know anything about being an entrepreneur. So now fast forward, I'm like, do I finish grad school? Do I just do photography full time? And I decided to finish grad school, got my degree in 2017, moved to Louisiana for my first job. So while I'm in my first job at Louisiana, I'm still rebuilding this photography thing. So I build another photography clientele. I find young people that are still like starting their photography journeys. We start creating some mentorship opportunities. We start working together. We start iron sharpens iron situations. Some great photographers coming out of the game. And I learned from them just like they learned from me. And then I up and moved again. So I moved to Indiana and I did the entire thing all over again. So I keep rebuilding and keep restructuring the same thing. And they say good things come in threes. So I built it in Louisiana. I learned it in Texas. I built it in Louisiana. I built it in Indiana. And then I moved home. So the third iteration of Bear Vision was the one that landed me back in California.
Wow.
So I had moved back to California, and I was living in Riverside. And, there was just a whole bunch of things that really weren't working for me. So I remember going up a mountain and asking God, hey, God, if this is the life that I'm supposed to be living, let it happen. Let this be where I'm at. If it's not, then take whatever is not supposed to be from me away. And he took away literally everything. So the only thing I had left was my car and my camera. Like that was it.
The things that you was that's what you got. This is the starter kit.
This was the starter kit. Like, so it took me back to my roots. So I learned all over again how to restructure a business, but now I'm doing it in California where everybody is a photographer. Everybody does video. So it's like, what is going to differentiate me from every other person that's doing this work? So I started in studios, and my first clients were Sean and Micah from May Williams Active, and they were the people that allowed for me to really start expanding my knowledge about how to be a better photographer as far as being an entrepreneur is concerned. Okay. So I learned in studios doing e-commerce work for their brand, which is fitness. So I was going in there taking the front, side, back, pocket, detail, 60 items. I'm in a studio for 8 hours, so I'm doing that, and I expand my clientele, working with other companies, start working with a different brand, work with a different clothing thing. And then one day my brother, who was honestly the first person that ever believed in me to do this full time, was like, hey, would you do video for me? And the only time that I had done video previously was in Indiana for a Black and Brown Arts Festival. The commissioner for that project was a guy named Gavin Everett, and he had asked me if I did video, and I was like, sure. I never did video before. I was just like, whatever, cool, let's do it. So I did my first video, and I remember I was so excited about the video that I went home and started editing right then and there. So I got the Adobe Creative Suite from being an employee at the university. So I got had Premiere. I had my whole little thing. I had my whole little setup, bro. I was cracking. So I was just like, okay, let's do this. So I start editing, and I got home maybe at like midnight. I got that video done at 5 a.m. Sent it to him at 5 a.m. I was just like, yo, I was just so excited. I wanted to start getting it. Thank you for the opportunity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I got a phone call at 8 a.m. Was like, you need to come down to City Hall right now. So I'm scrambling, putting all my things, and I know the story's jumping a little bit.
You're
but
fine.
it's just,
I'm following. I'm checking.
So it's like, so I'm putting on clothes, and I'm trying to scramble to get down to the downstairs thing, or down to the to City Hall. So I pull up to City Hall, and everyone in the front office, like the reception area, is watching the video I did, and they don't know who I am. I'm just coming in there sitting, but no one acknowledged me. No one said, like, hey, do you need anything? Like, no, they were watching this video as I was sitting down, and I was just like a proud auntie.
I was a proud auntie.
Just watching everybody. I'm proud
like
uncle, proud auntie.
Greens or something?
So I'm watching them watching. They were like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. We didn't get to the opportunity to say hello to you. We just been watching this video. We had the Black and Brown Arts Festival last night. So they're explaining to me, like, I was there. I filmed this. My name's on the end of the video. And I was just like, yeah, like I filmed that. And everybody's like, oh my God, this was so good. How did you do this? What did you film it on? How long you been doing this? And I was just like,
You're like, oh.
So I was like, okay. So Gavin comes out and gets me. He's just like, yeah, I want to make an introduction for you. He introduces me to the director of marketing for the city of Bloomington, Indiana.
Wow.
So we walk into this office. She sits me down and she offers me a job on the spot. She's like, I think it was like $35,000 a year to do marketing for the city of Bloomington, to do video for the city of Bloomington. But I thought immediately in that moment that if it was worth $30,000, then I'm probably worth hundreds more than what this person is offering me. So I immediately said no. And in hindsight, that was probably the best decision I could have made, that started my journey and kickstarted what it means to be an entrepreneur for me. Because I then was immediately followed up with the question of, well, have you ever thought of being a contractor? And so I was like, I don't know anything about that. Could you explain what that is to me? And this person told me, like, if you register as a business in the city of Bloomington, then you can do business contractually. So you do project-based income. So you would be able to get paid per project instead of being paid for individual, like monthly whatevers. So I was like, okay, that's actually sounds pretty good. So I immediately went to City Hall. She called over and said, hey, I got a guy coming over there. Can you push his paperwork? So I went in, got the things notarized, and I was literally in and out 30 minutes. And I was registered to do business in the city of Bloomington. So I was being called to go do work and projects and videos and et cetera. And then I moved again.
Okay. So, and then you moved in, and that was the LA move.
And that's when I moved to LA. Yeah. So I, went through a really good instance of ego death. Like I had to learn that everything that I was doing up until this point, getting degrees, I had a degree in computer science for my undergraduate degree.
Oh, wow.
I have a degree from education doing educational stuff, but I was just like, I'm not going to use these anymore. Like, what am I supposed to do here? So I moved back in with my parents, relationships that I had dissolved, everything that I thought I knew was not going to happen. COVID hit, lost my job, literally was at ground zero, bottom nothing.
Yeah.
And I just rebuilt myself from the ground up. And working in studios, doing small videos with my brother, who was the first person that was like, you could probably do video full time. You probably should try it. And we did a video in collaboration with this guy named Dallas Eli. Dallas Eli is a choreographer. He was on RuPaul's Drag Race, did like a whole bunch of like good dance things, and brought in some dancers. My brother sponsored the clothing because he runs a clothing company, Wolf Customs. And the three of us collaborated on this video. It was to Sweetie's Tap In, that tap in. Like, so once that video got posted, Sweetie retweeted it and was like, you need to drop this right now. Like, so that retweet was what launched my business. Seeing, like, I don't know what it is about celebrity validation that makes people like, oh, this person actually is good at their job.
He's real. Like, he knows
he knows what he's doing. But that one retweet started people reaching out to me and saying, hey, could you film my thing? Could you film this thing for me? Could you do this? And I got really big in dance choreography. I got really big in those spaces all the way up until I went to this acting class called The Underground. It was ran by this guy named Isaiah Howard. And Isaiah was bringing a whole bunch of like young black talent to the table, teaching them acting things, because he was in acting school. So he was teaching people how to be an actor. So he was kind of paying it forward and doing some due diligence there. I met the first director I ever collaborated with, Antrell Terry, and we did a project called Just Friends. And Just Friends was written by two people, Monica Edelhoff and Richard Obasi. They came together with a script. Antrell directed it. I brought all the equipment, things that I could possibly bring to the table. So I'm pulling all types of resources. I'm asking my homies. My homegirl, Rayana, had never touched a microphone before in her life, was like, I'll be the sound operator for this. We got a couple of practice runs in. And she was like, I'll do it. Cool. My brother, Richard Bagnerise, was like, I'll do the lighting. Cool, because he's good with his hands. So all of my homies are just like, let's go do this. Let's pull up. And when we did that project, we didn't get paid no money. I didn't get paid a single dime. I brought up as many things as I could out of my closet. And that was the project that gave me the springboard to doing everything else. So I think that was 2021. And that project took me to film festivals. That project put me in the room with individuals that were like, who is this guy? Like, who is this person? And it was the first film I ever won awards for. It was the first project that I ever did anything like that showed that I was capable of being a director of photography. Like, I had done small projects, but I was like, that's videography, right? That next level was, I need to show that I could be a director of photography and lead a team and lead a crew and et cetera. So I was taking that job so seriously that I started taking PA jobs just to see what people were doing at the high level. And I remember it was this guy named Corey Waters and Bianca Paletti were the first two director DPs that I was just like, y'all are doing this at the level that I'm like, I need to go run this up. He was on roller skates on an easy rig with an Alexa Mini LS.
Oh my
I will never forget it. I can't forget it. It's burned in my mind. And when he finished up that day and left set, I was like, I gotta be like that.
Yeah.
I could see myself doing that job. And I remembered the first time that I ever felt inspired by film. It was Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. And it was just so much going on. It was just such a beautiful cinematic masterpiece to me. And I was just like, this is the job that people do to do that. And this person I've identified as somebody that's within my grasp that I could ask this person like, yo, like, how did you do this? Yo, what did you do here? So I'm on set writing down everything. I used to keep a small journal with me.
Y'all, that's some game.
Yeah. Facts.
Taking notes.
Take a PA job, bring a notebook, and write down terminologies that you've never heard before. Go home and research them.
I love
Every time that I would take a job, and I was PA and doing band PA work. I'm on music videos, band PA, looking at the DP, because I know what I want to do now. I've never felt more inspired to do a job until I knew what cinematography and director of photography was. So I'm writing down everything. What's a mini LF? What's a stinger? What's this? What's this terminology? How do I set this up? How do I set up an 8x frame? How do I light things? And then I'm like, oh, photography and videography are not too much different. Cinematography lighting is the same thing as director of photography lighting is same as studio lighting. So 3-point, 4-point, Rembrandt, learning all of these terminologies, going home, YouTube University.
Yeah, I love that.
Studio Binder was the
I
most.
love Studio Binder.
I be
trying
sitting
to get them
through,
to sponsor this episode.
yes, Studio Binder needs to go ahead and make a Studio Binder University. If y'all ain't never thought about that, y'all need to get with me. I will be a 100% advocate for that.
They do, actually.
Because they gave me so much free game. It is all on YouTube. It's all learnable. And I am completely self-taught.
Yeah.
Like, I learned everything from the ground up, just going on YouTube and researching terminologies, going on Google, buying things, buying the wrong things, having to sell things. So it's like
That's a good testimony though, buying the wrong, because it's like, no, I brought the wrong thing.
For sure.
Did you ever show up to set with like, oh snap, this isn't it? Or
all the time. All the time. And sometimes I still do.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what they're doing at the top. And I mean that with every bit of grain of salt, because there's people that absolutely know everything, and then you get hit with a curveball and it's just like, whoa, technology changed. But it's like, I had to learn everything through mentorship and YouTube.
Yeah.
That's all I had. I wasn't going to be able to afford film school. I'm not going back to school. I can't afford it, bro. I can't, bro. I'm not gonna do that.
I was thinking about it too. I was like, should I go to AFI? No.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know what? If AFI ever sees this, I need a scholarship, bro.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah,
I need that scholarship, bro. I need that.
So BP, in December 2023, you were featured in Canvas Rebel, and you said, I want to speak to this. You said, being talented is not enough to differentiate yourself from your peers. You have to be a networker as well. You have to be able to step into rooms and communicate your intentions with those around you in a way that emphasizes your future profitability profitability and usefulness to others' ambition. This is a game of being useful, and not everyone understands that partnerships are how many are growing out of their seed phase. Can you talk to us more about that?
So it's like, think about when you first started and the people that were all around you figuring out who they're going to pick out of this pool of humans that all do the same job.
Yes.
Everybody calls himself a producer, a cinematographer, a director, an insert film position here, right? But your marketability is 100% based off your personality.
Right.
You have to go into a room and not only demand that people see you, but also you have to make sure that you are portraying the idea that you might be useful for what's going on. Even if you don't have all the answers to something, you still have to be useful. You still have to be able to fulfill the obligations that you're signing up for. I got 2 rules of business. Don't lie and make sure your bag clears. Everything else is semantics. Everything else is figuring out how you fit in. I don't gotta like you to work with you for 12 hours. I don't have to, but you have to be a good person. Like, you have to be somebody that fits into the algorithm that we're looking to create. So for me, that usefulness, that development of soft skills, that usefulness that you're trying to make sure that people understand as you are working through the field of cinematography or filmmaking, because filmmaking is a team sport. If you are not portraying yourself as a team player, no one's going to pick you. No one is going to pick you. And so a lot of people, and especially now with the industry going so many different directions, writer strikes, IATSE is currently in their negotiation phase. Directors had to figure out what they wanted to do. There is going to be a lack of work that happens, but people have to make sure that they are maintaining their degree of usefulness in whatever way they see fit and whatever way that they can portray it. Because they're the days of being, and I hate to say it the way that it is, you might want to cut this part of the podcast, but the days of being a cisgender heterosexual male in the film industry are ending. It is not a place where you can go and be an asshole. It's not a place where you can come and just run through whatever like vulgarities that you would want to and expect for everybody to be cool. Like, no one's doing that anymore. Your usefulness is not determined by your skin color. Your usefulness is not determined by your ability to communicate either. You have to show up and show out. You get one shot. Especially when you are a person of color, you get one opportunity to prove it.
Right.
And when you prove it and you prove it well, you will always be in the running.
Yeah.
If you prove it and you prove yourself to be a liar, you prove yourself to not clear that bag, you prove yourself to be somebody that cannot execute on the things that they promised that they could, you will never work in the industry again. And it is simple as that.
Yep.
And so when I think about that seed phase, when I think about what it's like to be planted, to be in the darkness, to be someone that's underneath a whole bunch of things, and you finally sprout. What are you sprouting as? Are you sprouting as a sapling that's ready to receive whatever is coming out there? Or are you sprouting as something that is going to die in that next season? And the only way that you're able to receive that watering, receive that mentorship, receive those opportunities, if you're able to accurately convey what your intentions are. If you can't tell somebody what you want, what you really, really want, you're always going to be looking at you and trying to figure out, what does that person do? Like, what do you do? What do you do? And it's just like, I don't want to have to think about what this person does.
Right.
If you're a gaffer, you're a gaffer. If you're a cinematographer, you're a cinematographer. And a lot of people don't agree with that because in the industry, there is this preconceived notion that you work in whatever capacity that you can just to get on set and network and et cetera. But I have gotten farther by eliminating all of the other things that I'm capable of doing and just marketing myself as what I am. I am a director of photography. I am in certain spaces a director. I'm in certain spaces a producer. But those circles of people will know me as that thing.
Right.
You're not going to hire me for 3 different projects with the same teams as 3 different positions. You can't do that. So for me, growing in the industry means choosing what you really want to be known for.
Can you let them know? You can take to the camera too.
Growing in the industry means choosing. And I know that that's an unpopular opinion because people said to maximize your options. But maximizing your options keeps you on maximum lists of people that will hire you for maximum things. I don't want to be hired for everything. I will say no to more things than I say yes to, because the things that you say no to will define the things that you say yes to, and vice versa. So if you continuously give yourself opportunities for people to misconstrue what you do, no one is going to be able to understand what it is that you actually want to do, and no one's going to hire you.
Siri over here bopping her.
No one's going to hire you.
It's so true.
I don't want to have to guess. Is this person a gaffer today? Are they an AC this week? Like, I don't want to guess. I want to know, because how are we supposed to run to the top if I can't trust you in a key position?
Yeah.
How are we supposed to get to where we're supposed to get to if I'm thinking that you're going to be here and trying to deviate from your task at hand? It's like messing with experts. Being in a room full of experts means that everybody knows their role and everybody wants to be in that role.
That's the key right there, that want.
When you want to be there,
Yeah.
it's just like, and that's why being a production assistant is such a flexible and versatile role, because every department has production assistants. Every department. So if you are in I'm a PA, I know. So you have the opportunity to be over here with the camera department, over here with, now it depends on the flexibility of your set. If you're hired as a set PA and you're like, hey, we need help in camera department, can we get that PA over here? Now you have an opportunity to network with the camera department. Now you have an opportunity to network with the lighting people. Like, it's just
giving y'all a lot of free game.
Use the position of production assistant to your advantage.
Yeah.
But when you're done being a production assistant, when you figure out what you want to do, restart. You got to restart and market yourself as the thing that you want to be. And people have told me I'm crazy. I got to start at the bottom. If you want to be in camera department, you start as a utility and you work your way up. And I respect that narrative. I respect the people that do that. That wasn't for me, though.
Right.
That wasn't for me.
You were clear going into it.
I was clear going into it. I know what leadership looks like. I've been in leadership positions before, and it doesn't matter the industry, because people are people.
Right.
People are always people. And if you understand how people move, if you have the soft skills to navigate and negotiate and make people feel good and do that part, and that's what human-centered approach is. Having a human-centered approach to filmmaking is knowing that these people aren't machines, they're people. So someone might go home, have a bad day, and then they got to come to set 12 hours later, and now we're having to figure out why this person's not operating at their best performance. But if we know that these are people, people are like, hey, bro, you good? Like, what's going on? How can I be there for you today? How can I make sure that you feel like you can do your best work today? And someone might have a breakdown. I've had people on set like cry because no one ever asked.
You see them because you're seeing them.
I'm seeing them as people, but it's because I came from below the line. I've worked in every department trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I've been a soundie before.
Wow.
I've been in art department. I've been a gaffer. I've been a key gaffer. I've been a key lighting technician before. I've learned so much just from working and meeting the people and understanding that every person has a story, that how they got there, and they have things that they were looking to do, but you don't really get the opportunity to really flex what your thing is until you're looking for something and someone sees you and they're able to say, hey bro, what is it that you really want to do?
Right.
And in that moment you have one opportunity, one chance. And if you blow it, they're always gonna know you as a person that doesn't really know what they want. There's no way to avoid that. The only way that you could really make yourself a marketable, viable anything is by standing on business.
Yeah.
Stand on what you want to do. Stand on being or whatever it is. And when you stand on it and you're confident in it and you know that the people around you support you, everything else will make sense.
Yeah.
Everything else.
I'm going to add applause effects to that.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
No, BP, really though, you're dropping a lot of wisdom and gems, just a ton of them. So when it comes to your faith, how important is that? Because 2020 is when you had your reset, right?
Yes.
That was the BP reset.
That was it.
And so during that time, were you going through any doubt? Were you having to, journaling? How were you working through that time to get to where you are now?
I go through doubt right now. Fear don't ever change. Fear never goes anywhere. You literally have to operate from a space of fear. But that's what faith is. When you free fall, when you take that step off the ledge and you are just falling in it, you let go of everything that is your safety, your comfort, and you genuinely have to rely on God. I think that God is the reason why I am here and breathing and able to function. I sometimes wake up and have to turn over to my partner, India, and I'd be like, baby, I don't know how I'm going to do it this week. And we pray. We get straight to it. And I ask God for the same three things at the end of my prayers every time. Bless my health, bless my wealth, and bless my unions.
Health, wealth, and unions.
That's all I asked for, God. And if God decided that it was over today, if I was like, hey, your time as a director of photography is over, I'd quit. Because I should not, by anybody's standards, I should be working through the channels. I should be 20 years in and first getting my DP job. I should be doing things by the proper channel, but I have worked tirelessly and believed just as hard as I've worked.
Yeah.
I have held faith and walked by, what they say, walk by faith and not by sight. I don't see anything.
Can you talk to us about, I was just about to ask you about that. Remember we went to coffee and you were talking about this?
Yes.
Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
The 6-month bull run.
Yes,
the 6-month bull run. And I cannot start this conversation without shouting out my brother Sean Bartley. Sean Bartley and I talked in a bar, and we sat down. I looked at Sean looked at me. I said, brother, I know that if we change our perspectives, if we change the way that we move in this for 6 months, I said, I need 6 months, bro. 6 months of your time. That's all I'm asking for, bro. And it's going to change everything. It'll change the position that we're in. I prayed on this. And it was just like, it was so funny because beforehand, I had been in a very sacrificial, like, a stage in my faith. So, like, when you sacrifice things, that's how God knows you're serious.
Right.
So it's like when you start giving up certain pieces of what makes you who you are, quote unquote. So it's like in 2020, I made a sacrifice for everything and God took it all. And after coming out of that ego death stage, I then was like, okay, God, what can I sacrifice mentally? What can I sacrifice of spirit so I can make room for the things that you're looking to have for me? And so I started getting really deep into like readings and philosophies. I read Sun Tzu's The Art of War, which was like a philosophical book about how war works. And the thing that I gravitated towards in that conceptually was that war is won before the war starts. War is won when you understand all of the key determinant factors of war, when you understand the personnel, when you understand the leadership, when you understand how heaven and earth aligns, when you understand how the energies that are associated with war are being maintained, when you understand the terrain that you're going up against. It's not just about the people. It's not just about the personnel. It's about everything that people have to do, the elements, the conditions, and etc. So sacrificing what my normalities were, I sacrificed relationships. I sacrificed time. I sacrificed my mentality. I had to let certain aspects of myself die so that I could improve myself. And when you subdue certain passions of your own and you allow for new room to kind of grow these pieces of yourself, that is where the spiritual alignment starts becoming a little bit more purposeful and a little bit more driven. So prior to that, I never named it because it was just like, this is all conceptual. I want to put it into practice somehow. So the case study was, if I was to do 6 months of hard running, if I was to put the blinders on and I'm right here, I'm looking straight forward. I can't see nothing else. And I could just run. What would happen? And I looked at Sean in that bar. We had just saw the Hunger Games movie. We went with a group of friends, and I think Sean and I had sat down at the bar, and I was just like, Sean, I need 6 months, bro. And Sean looked at me, and he was just like, bro, I got you, whatever you need. And from the start of that in November, and it ended in May. So November, December, January, February, March, April. So April was when it was over. And May was when I came out of the entire situation. So, so that 6 months of hard running was where I was able to improve my business. I was in the Find Your People program and developing that project. I was given my second big opportunity to direct. I directed a spot for Walmart doing some social media content for the Black and Unlimited Digital Development Program in association with Hooray. I'm receiving these accolades from doing these things. So I'm a part of Canva's rebrand. So if you log into Canva right now, you will see my black face. Right there, you will see my face. I'm a template on Canva. Like all of these things happen because within that 6 months, I am solely focused on what I could give up, like going out, hanging out with people. Like they'd be, hey bro, you want to come out to the? Nope, I don't. And I was very intentional about who I spent my time with, what I spent my time doing. The conversation that we've had, Yamoria, like I've been very intentional about how I want my life to look. And I focused on making that life make sense for 6 months time. And India will tell you, like, I don't go out. I don't be in the club. I'm not I'm not outside at all. I be inside. And when I'm not working, I'm inside figuring out how I'm going to make my life make sense.
Right.
And at the end of that 6 months, I spoke on Canva Creates panel. I spoke on Soul Canvas's panel. And it's so funny that at the end of the 6 months, I was seeing myself more as the person that I already knew I was than I ever did before. So when taking the blinders off, and this is actually the first thing that I've done conversationally since I've taken those months on June 1st, right? So the first day, and now I'm going into another 6-month bull run with now my production partners, Maia Miller. I'm talking to Sean about going into another like 6 month bull run with Audacity now. Like now it's being boastful about it. And not boastful in a degree that I'm like, not honoring God in the process, because you're only supposed to humble yourself before God. Like, you humble yourself before God and everything else is, not really so much beneath you, but it's all at your level. Like you can be as headstrong as you need to be, and as long as you are honoring God in that process, then God is not going to put you in anything that's going to lead you astray. So I have realigned my faith in knowing that if I could sacrifice myself for 6 months with things that I would normally do for 6 months, and this is where it brought me. Like I'm seeing myself on printed billboards. They got a billboard of me coming up in Times Square.
Really?
Yeah. Times Square. So like I got the message. I'm like, Times Square? That's crazy.
Is it Canva? Dang, I love it.
So it's like all of that sacrifice, all those times that I spent speaking and figuring out what it meant for me to do my big one,
right,
was all spent in this glorious triumph of when you're buried, you don't know that you're a seed. And that 6 months was the fertilizer, the soil, the sunlight, the nourishment that it needed in order to truly sprout. And now going into another season, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to build some deeper roots. The foundation needs to be there. The foundation was already built when God decided to do something with my life back in 2020. So all of that building, all of that conceptualization, all of that process, all of that grieving, all that trying to figure out, am I going to have money for rent? Am I going to do that? I remember when I moved into my first apartment, my mom said, do you really trust God? Because if you did, you wouldn't be worried about finances. You wouldn't be worried about man-made things if you really trusted God. And my mama used to tell me, she used to walk me to school, and she used to say, good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good gets better and your better gets best. Like, and that's such a bar. Like,
yeah, it is.
I've been getting bars from God delivered through my people. Like God delivers so many good messages through people when you need them.
Yes.
And it's like being prepared is the most honoring God thing that you can do. It's the most audacious thing that you can do is be prepared. It's like no one has to tell me to get in line because I'm always in line.
Right.
I'm always on God's line. I'm on God's line first. So it's like I go on stages and talk about God because I know what God did for me. And anytime that God wanted to take it away, take it. Because whatever is next, I know it's going to be of God. Yeah. So everything from now until, and what's another 6 months? We in June right now?
It's June 1st today.
So June, so July.
January. You're looking at January 1st.
Yep. July, August, September, October, November, December. So I would come out January 1st would be the end of the 6 month bull run with Audacity. And I guarantee you, just watch where I'm at in 6 months.
I'm so excited that I have this documented here on,
for sure.
on June 1st, 2024.
I'm calling it early. It's on camera. 6 months time is going to look completely different.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even mean that it's going to be significantly better. It could be significantly worse.
It's going to be different.
It could be. It will be different. And I will be proud of wherever I am in 6 months.
Yeah.
Period.
Dang, VP, this has been a pleasure. Can you believe we're almost at time?
Are we?
Yeah.
Did I answer any of the things that we were supposed to answer?
So I had these questions, but we're just being synced. So you were already answering like in order.
I'm not doing podcasts right.
No, you're doing it right. You're doing it right.
Shout out to the Inside Out podcast. Let me drink from my mug.
It's your mug.
Branded.
Exactly. He got it on the screen.
I didn't answer none of the questions. I'm sorry. We didn't even answer no questions.
You actually did answer the questions.
Okay.
You did. You were answering them. You were just flowing into them.
Right. Okay. Yeah. There it is. I'll take it. We'll accept that as what it is, but I know I didn't do podcasts right. I'm sorry.
I want to talk, but what you did just say that I didn't have written down, you talked about the grief during these times. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Oh, the grief that you feel when processes are not openly relayed to you is some of the hardest grief that you have to endure. It's some of the hardest processes that you have to endure. So when you don't know God's plan and you stressed about God's plan, what am I supposed to be learning right now? What am I supposed to understand? What am I supposed to gain from this? And you're so worried about what the destination is that you neglect the journey entirely. Yeah. That grief is some of the hardest grief because that's God trying to teach you to slow down. And you have to go through those processes because those processes are what make you understand and appreciate the destination. You have to go through the journey to appreciate the destination. You have to go through the lows, the highs, and you have to appreciate the highs just like you appreciate the lows.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people will get to a low point and be like, well, God's forsaken me. Like, oh, God don't want me. Oh, what am I supposed to do? And it's just like, you have to appreciate that space, because that low point is going to show you something. And when you pivot from that low point, the best part about being at the low point is that it's only up.
Right.
You can't go much lower than the low point. And I remember taking pictures of myself at low points.
Ooh, did you do that on purpose?
Yeah, you have to capture the energy. Energy is neither created or destroyed. It's only transferred. So you have to transfer that energy and capture that energy when you have it. So when you put it to a place where you're in a different energy now, you can remember what it felt like. Because when you capture certain pieces of energy, it's not to say that it's created, it's not to say it's destroyed, but it's being stored in that photo. That's why I feel like photography is the study and capture of light. Light is by wavelength and energy. So you're capturing energy and preserving it. So if I can capture the energy of this moment and remember it, my body will respond to it in the ways that I remember it in that moment, because that's when you get those moments where you like flash back and you're just like, oh, I remember what it was like to be at that event. That's why everybody's so focused on recording things when they're at concerts or when they see a celebrity or when they having like that moment with their baby's first steps and stuff like that. I remember how that felt because that energy is being transferred back to me. So when I transfer that negative space, it allows for me to appreciate the level and the gap between that negative and that positive energy. And it allows for me to process that fully. So when you see yourself in that high point, and I mean, I have a photo of myself now that Canva sent me from that event. And it's the same one that was up on the wall. Like I get to see what that high and that low genuinely felt like in its synchronicity. It all feels the same.
Yeah.
So like understanding that high point and that low point were all in the same wave space. They're all in the same wavelength. So that high vibration is in the same wavelength as that low vibration. And appreciating both of those spaces means that you are fully understanding and comprehending of the journey.
Wow.
Deep.
That is so deep.
Deep.
I love that. I love the way that you encapsulated that as pertains to photography and cinematography. Clever.
There you go.
Wow. That's giving me a moment for pause, because that is certainly true. And there's this her Instagram is like Candice Love. Maybe her name is Candice. Actually, sometimes you'll know people by their Instagram handle. But she it has been in like free of addiction and in recovery for I want to say maybe like 8 years, something like that.
Congratulations to her.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
beautiful.
Yeah. But she captured pictures at her lowest. And it's one of her pinned photos at the top of her Instagram. And she kind of says the same things, that she would wake up, hungover, and, she was going through a lot. I think she had the loss of a parent, but she was going through a really dark time, but she captured it. And she said her mind, even in that, I believe she was saying she knew that she was capturing those things for better days to know, ooh, I don't want to.
Yes.
I remember that's what that looked like.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So what you're saying is just so powerful. Before we go, do you have any advice? You can take it to the camera if you choose, but any advice you want to leave people who are calling themselves aspiring cinematographers and director of photography first? How do they get themselves out of that aspiring label?
Do it. Do it. I'm challenging you. Yeah, if you watching this right now, do it. Stop letting your dreams be dreams. Remember that Shia LaBeouf thing?
Yes.
He was like, just do it. Stop letting your dreams be dreams. And he says something so real. And I sometimes watch that video. So if Shia LaBeouf watches this, thank you, Shia LaBeouf. Even Stevens was dope.
It was good.
But you just got to stop letting your dreams be dreams. I had met somebody at Soul Canvas that was like, I want to be a cinematographer. And it was funny because a similar conversation happened at Canva. They were like, I want to do cinematography work, but I don't know where to start and all these other things. You already know what to do. You have the energy for it. You have the desire to do it. The only thing stopping you is you.
Right.
At this point, like, just do it. So what is stopping you from calling yourself a cinematographer outside of other external factors that are not God or yourself? Like, people say, oh, well, you can't be a cinematographer. You got to go through certain like loops first. And it's like, I agree, but you could go through those loops and still call yourself a cinematographer. Like, you don't have to wait on anybody to give you permission.
Correct.
When God gives you permission,
Yeah.
you can go forth and conquer the planet. Once God gives you permission to go run. So, what in the words of Kung Fu Panda's master Oogway, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a certain step.
Oof.
It's the first one. Once you took that first step towards your dream, you can't stop. And if you stop, you lose. So keep going. Fight yourself every day. Quit, but start again. And if you fall down 7 times, get up 8.
I love that. Knock me down 9 times, but I get up 10. Isn't that what Cardi says?
Yep.
Right?
Yep. As long as you get back up, you can't lose.
Get back up, you can't lose. Before we close, hurt, heal, joy. What is currently hurting you? What do you want to heal? And what brings you joy?
Something that's hurting me right now is the state of the world. There's a lot of things going on. And, you know, I've been seeing like eyes on Rafah, eyes on the Congo, eyes on these places. And it definitely does need reform.
Yeah.
Something needs to change. And it hurts to see those types of things. So, you know, to the people that are out there having to deal with things that we in America only have glimpses of, it is not enough to post a picture and be like, this is enough. I don't know what enough is, but there's definitely some hurt that needs to be healed in that.
Yeah.
What was the second one?
Hurt, heal. What do you want to heal?
No, heal. Outside of healing the world, I think that it's, you know, healing my homies. When do we check on our homies? You know, everybody's going through something. So this is a great question. But, you know, things that I want to heal is just like, I know that people are going through things. I know that the homies got stuff going on. So anything that I could do to help them heal, that heals me as well. And I know that when I pour out to them, they will pour back into me. So just checking in on your homies.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's some good healing. And then what brings me joy? This next phase of my life. I completed 6 months of sacrifice. I completed a completely like God ordained, self-driven mode of discipline. And it brings me so much joy to come out of that and see that when I sacrifice, that God will reward my sacrifice. And so I'm just taking a breather right now and going into my next season of sacrifice. So June 1st was the start. And 6 months is going to be January 1st at the completion of that. And I am looking completely forward to whatever it is that God has for me. So that brings me immense joy to know that God has continued to favor me, because favor ain't fair.
Listen, my mom always said that favor ain't fair.
It sure ain't.
It ain't fair.
And I'm going home with something.
Okay.
I'm from round the way.
All right.
All right.
Quiet as kept.
That's what I'm saying. All right. The table is prepared.
Okay.
In front of thy enemies.
Talk about it.
Come on.
Talk about it.
I'll do it all day. You better cut this mic. You better cut this microphone. Say it. Give the outro.
The outro.
Do the outro.
BP, where can we find you? How can we support you?
So you can find and support me by sending good prayers first and foremost, but also you can find me on the social medias at BP Edwards DOP on Instagram. You can go onto my website, www.bearvisionpnd.com. It looks bad right now because it was hacked, but I have got it back and we are currently rebuilding. Praise his name.
Okay, come on,
also,
rebuilding.
You can find me on LinkedIn under BP Edwards, because I'm learning that LinkedIn is where the professionals be.
They do be out there.
They do be there. So anywhere that you can find me, if you could put my name in something, it'll be BP Edwards. So I'm looking forward to connecting with whomever in the space wants to connect.
Love it. BP, thank you so much for this wonderful episode of Inside Out Podcast. You have been preaching, dropping so many gems. I know that people are going to be enriched, inspired, motivated, but also held accountable by what you've been sharing today.
That's right.
Held accountable.
As they should.
As y'all should.
As they should.
This has been another episode of Inside Out Podcast. Before you leave, make sure you subscribe if you are watching on YouTube. Give it a thumbs up. Give it a heart. Comment. Let us know what you're feeling about this episode and the other episodes. If you're listening to on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, or Apple Podcasts, make sure you rate it. Give us some love. Comment. Okay, let's keep the conversations going. Thank you all. Peace out.
Do it.
You heard what he said. Wait. Before you go, don't forget to like this episode. Give it a thumbs up or a heart, depending on where you're watching or listening, and comment. I will continue the conversation with you in the comments, and be sure to subscribe wherever you watch or listen to Inside Out Podcast. You can catch Inside Out Podcast on YouTube. Of course, you can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, Amazon Music, or iHeartRadio. And y'all, that is not it. If you really love you some Inside Out Podcast, there is a Patreon community just for you. For only $15 per month, you can join the Patreon as a member. And every 3 months, I will send you some Inside Out Podcast swag, y'all. Yes, straight from the Inside Out Podcast store, just for showing us some love. You can, of course, follow Inside Out Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you for showing us love, and stay tuned for the next episode.
Whoa. Drop it, shake it, pop it.